So let's learn how to authenticate our next app with Firebase. We will use Google and GitHub authentication plus email and sign up. We will also see how to send data or receive data, which is also called CRUD operations in next app. So let's start. First thing to do is we have to create our next app. So we can use this command npx create next app latest version. So just paste the command here. So let's add the name of the app. So it should be next CRUD, next CRUD and auth. Okay, this looks fine. Then add. So it's downloading all the packages from the library from Vercel. Then what we have to do is create an app in Firebase. So let's create it. So let's say next auth CRUD. Fine. Continue. We don't need analytics. Just create a project here. So our project is getting created, and here also in the React app. So wait a second or wait a minute, then continue. So our Firebase project has been created here. Now what we have to do is create an app. So to create an app, just type here CRUD auth. Just type CRUD auth, fine. And here let's change the folder. So let's go into that project folder which is called next auth or next CRUD and auth. Fine. So here we have pages, we have index, our main page, we have our node modules that contains all our dependencies, we have package.json that contains all the list of packages, yarn lock, I don't know what this is, git ignore to ignore node modules and all the files to ignore when push to git. So now what we do is just install Firebase here. So open the terminal and just type npm I Firebase. So we need this command in order to Firebase to work. Meanwhile, let's also create one file here. So just create Firebase config.js. So this will contain all this configuration data here. So just copy these things and paste it here. Remove the comments. Okay, let me remove the comments. So we are already importing the app here. So we need to export this from the folder. So say export const app. Now we can use this app in our project. Okay, now we have to do in this home page. Where is it? This one. Okay. But before that, let's create a folder which is known as layout. Layout. Okay, wait. Layouts. Inside, create a file called index.js. So this will contain our layout for all the pages. So we will create two pages. So one is for registration, one is for the home page. So we don't need index right now. So just what can we do? Let's create two pages. So we already have index which will serve as a home page. So let's change it first. So we don't need all this code here. So remove them. Not this head though. We need the head. Remove everything inside the main tag. So remove it. Then save. And let's change the title here. This should be next CRUD auth. So CRUD stands for create, read, update and delete. So continue to console here. Now let's define our authentication methods. So click get started here. We will use email and password. So enable this. And we have to use the web. Okay, we don't need this passwordless. We don't need this right now. So save it. Plus let's add two more provider. So Google, enable, save. Then let's also add GitHub. We will use sign in for GitHub and Google. So next one should be GitHub. Where is it? This one. But for this, we need a client ID and client secret. So just go to github.com and go to settings. Here we will have option developer settings. Open OAuth apps and let's create a new login OAuth app. So let's make it CRUD auth. Homepage URL, let's make it localhost or this URL here. So first let's start the app. So we have to start the app using npm run dev. So it's running on localhost 3000. So just copy this URL and put it here in the homepage URL. Then we need the callback which we should get from Firebase. So copy this auth URL and paste it. Then registered application. So it's returning as a client ID that we need to use it here and a client secret. So we need to generate a new client secret. Let me enter the password. Okay, it's wrong. I always forgot my password. Okay, it's still wrong. Let's try this. Okay, it's now fine. So we need this client secret. So just copy this using the copy symbol or icon and paste it. Then save it. So we have enabled email and password, Google and GitHub. So what could we do now? So we are now opened here in the localhost 3000. So let's create the layouts page. Before that, let's give this home a title of h1, which is called home, and it will show up here. You see, it's showing up here. Now let's do what should we do now? So create one more page. It should be register.js. Let's make it small r. Fine. One more we need for login.js. So we have registered component and login component. And in the index, we are fine here. So what we have to do, create a layout here for the routes. The first thing to do is importing. So import, let's say router from next router. So we don't have to use React router because it's not React, it's Next. And it comes with the router predefined router, I mean. Now we have to create a function here. So called export const, let's say layout. So we're exporting this constant layout and we can use it. This will accept some props. And then inside a div, we can just say router. Okay, wait, not router. We don't need router. We need link. Sorry. Link. Wait a second. Import link from next link. Then we have to wrap our routes in a link. So link it to, wait a second, let me check what is the command for linking. So when new deployment next link, click this. Okay, we have to use href. Next link href. Let's type the link for the home page first. It should be just a slash. Sorry, first add a register. Fine. If we check our app or if we go to register, so let's add a component here. So export const, export not const, default function register. Then let's return something. Let's return a div first. Inside, let's add an h1. It should be saying register. Save. If we now go to registered page, so not this. Okay, let's go to registered page now. We can see the registered text here. You see it's now reflecting. Let's do the same for the login. Just make this as login and this also login. let's import the styles from index, which is called home.js. So this index I mean. So first import styles and add it here. So make it in the center. This is all the text. Then what can we do? Just add the main here. So in the div, wait, just copy this div till the footer and paste it here. Just make this as register and just copy this again and paste it here. Wait a second. Head is not defined, so I guess we have to import head as well. Head and image in register page. Now it's working fine. Save and do the same for login. Just change the text to login. Where is it? This one. And the default function name login. Now if we go to login, we have to add the import for login. Sorry, we have to add the link for login. So make it login. And let's add login here. So we have the login text here and register text here. Add one more for the home page. Make it, let's say, home. And if we go to home, we should see the home text at the center. Okay, this is not found. I guess why. So if we open home, wait a second. It's not home, it's index. So let's change it to home.js. We have to change the import. Okay, it's automatically changed, I guess. So we have now the layout here and we are passing this. So we need to return the data as well. So wait a second. Okay, it's working fine. So okay. Now this is done. We have to import this index, this Firebase config file in the home page. So let's import. So just say import. So we should say from Firebase config. So we have to import the app. So import app from Firebase config in the home page. So it's working fine. And we can see our footer here, you see. Powered by Vercel. Now let's create our registered page first. Then we will move to home page. So close all these things. So in this page called register.js, let's add the styling and the data. So let's just remove footer. We don't need it here. Save. Let's go to registered page. Register. Save. And it's here. So what we have to do now is we don't need image import here. So let's import the Firebase config file here. So import app from Firebase config. Fine. Auto imported. Then we have to create text inputs. Two text inputs. So just create them. So we will say input and import it once more. So what we have to do is we give this input a class, input a placeholder of, this should be email and second one should be password. Password. Save. We have email and password. So let's style them a little bit. So make this as the class name of input box. Input box, fine. And here also in the second input, break it down like this. And then save. Okay. Save it. Now let's style it a little bit. So in this file called styles.home.module.css, just say, wait, we have to just add here. So input box, we can just say, let's say width to be 200 pixels, but it will not work because we have to use using styles. So just say styles dot input, what is it, the class input box. Save. Okay, the problem here is we have to use it in this camel case. then it will work. So just say input box. So it's now wide. Repeat the same for the second input for password. Save. They are both now wide. Now let's add some height. Make it 30 pixels. Fine. Let's also give them a little bit space between them. So just say margin 5 pixels. Now we have email and password. Fine, this looks better. We can type email and type password. So now what I do is create a state. So let's create two states. So first will be const, let's say email and password. Sorry, set email. Use state empty string, then const password and set password. Then we have to just create a use state hook here. Empty string. Now let's set them. So in the email, we have to use onChange event. OnChange event, it takes a event, and we can just do set email event dot target dot value, and just copy and put the same here. But this time here, this should be set password. Now we can get email and password if we type here. Also, let's set the value. So value should be the state of email here. So email, and this one should be state of password. Wait. So value, this should be password. Save, and it's done. Now we can get our email and password inputs properly. Now let's create a function here. So const, this should be sign up. Then we have to just import two functions from Firebase. So it should be import first, add the import, then from Firebase auth. So we will have to import two things, which is called get auth and sign in with or sign up. Wait a second. Register. What is the method for registering with email? It's first is sign up with pop-up. Let me see the method to sign in with email and password. It's not register, it's not sign up, it's, wait a sec, let's search in Google sign up for Firebase. Sign up method for Firebase authentication. So let's go down. We have to use web. Okay, create user with email and password. Fine, I get it now. So we will use these two. You see it's here, auth and create user with email and password. Then let's create an instance of auth. So just say const auth equal to get auth. Save it and just copy create user with email and password. Then you have to just pass the auth, then the email and then the password. So now if we are signed in, we can just throw us to the page of home if we sign up successfully. So we need to create a router instance. So just import use router from next router. Then create an instance of router. So say const router equal to get router. What is it? Sorry, use router. Then we can just say router dot push to the home page. So if we see in the where is it? In the layout page, the route of home is /home. So it will push us back to that home route. So save. Now we need to create a button here that will send us to that page. So just just create a button and say sign up. So we have the button here. Let's style a button a little bit, make it a class name of styles dot button or button fine. So in the button class name, we will just say button. Let's make width same as this, or 100 pixels will be fine, I guess. Let's try 100 fine. Width 20 pixels to 20 200 fine. Let's add the sorry what I'm doing. This should be height, not width. Too much, so I guess it was right. 20 was right. So we have the button here. Make it 30. Fine. Also a cursor of pointer. If you hover this, we will see the pointer cursor here. Now what we can do is, we are using the sign up button. Just add the button on click event here. So on click the button, the function name sign up. Add it here. Now let's add our email here and password to sign up. So Nishant as 440@gmail.com and some password. But before that, make the type of password to be password. Input type password, and this one is email. Type as email. So if we type a password here, this should be in dotted format. We can't see it. So let me get some password. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 6. Sign up here. So if we here see, we are now on the home page. We have signed up successfully. So now open the users in authentication and we can see our email. The provider is email and password. So we need to go back here and create two more what is it? Options. One for Google and one for GitHub. So create two more buttons. Button, it should be Google, or just say sign up. Sign up with Google. Similarly, one more button for GitHub. Let's add some straight horizontal line between them. Use HR tag, and here also in between these buttons. Fine, but we are not saying it properly because we are using the flex box, so it's being shrink down to a dot here. So fine, it doesn't matter. So now we have to use Google and GitHub sign up buttons. So just repeat the styles here as well in buttons. Just format it like this. Now we have done, okay, wait. The problem is we have to use, let's make it Google or button alternate. We have to use more height here. So okay, it looks fine, doesn't matter. We are just using the we are just showing the functionality, not styling the app. So what we have to do is create one more function or two more function. So first will be sign up with Google. Second function will be GitHub. It should be GitHub. So we can use one function to do the both, but it will be complicated. So I don't want to make it complicated. So we have to import the methods for Google sign up and GitHub sign up. So let's import. First is Google auth provider. The provider we have to import, and then GitHub auth provider. Fine. These are the two things we need here. So we have to specify the provider for Google. So let's say Google provider equals to this new Google Auth provider. Similarly, do it for GitHub. Copy and paste. Make Google as GitHub, and this one as GitHub Auth provider. So in this function of Google, we can just say, we can just use this function called, okay, we need one more thing here, which is called sign up with pop-up. This one, sign in with pop-up. Then we can just use this pop-up method, and we have to pass auth, this auth, where is it, this auth, and the provider. So first the button is Google, so we will add Google provider, this one, and we will record the, let's record the, yeah, what is it, response, and we can do the same here also. So we can record the response. So let's console it first. Response dot user, we have to get the user ID from here, and let's console it here also. Now this button of sign up with Google, this function, we have to map it in this button here. So what we can do on this Google button, just say on click this button, then just format the code here and put the button at the bottom, press enter, and do the same for GitHub. And this one is bottom, at bottom, fine. So now if we click this button of Google, it will open up a window that you cannot see, but I can only see because I'm not recording that window. So open the console first to see what we get on the console if we click the button here. So open the console and see. In this providers, we don't, in the users, we don't have the email. We just have my email here. So let's sign up with Google again. Click, we are seeing a pop-up. And we have to use our email to sign up. So you click your email, and it will show us all the data inside the user that we're getting in the console here. You see token, auth, display name, email, verified email is true or not, is anonymous or not. We have the photo URL and all the things. And if we see the Firebase auth, it is, let's refresh it. We should see our new email here, and the provider is Google here. You see, it now works fine. So the next thing we need is to add GitHub. So let's add it. So when okay, in this GitHub provider, repeat the same method here. But this provider of Google, it should be GitHub provider. GitHub. Save. And let's go up and just copy this method, const function, and add it to GitHub. So on click this GitHub, this sign in with GitHub here. So if we sign in with GitHub again, let's try. Click this button. Okay, you see we are still getting this, what is it, a pop-up for GitHub now, not Google. So you see we are getting the error, auth account exists with different credentials. That is because we are already using my email here, you see. So we have to delete this first in order to GitHub to work, because we can't create account with two same emails. So if we refresh now and try again, GitHub, click your email or click authorize, you see it now works. And if we open the console, we will see the provider of GitHub here. You see the display name is same, the email that I used to add. If we refresh this if we refresh this auth users, the provider is now GitHub and my email is now listed here. So we are done here. I guess the auth is now done. The last thing to do here is just push it to home page here. So just push to home, remove console.log or leave it. Fine. So if we now sign up, we should be on the home page. So sign up with Google again. Sign up with Google. And it will work because we already have the same email here and we are on the home page. So let's do one more thing here before going to the CRUD operations, is import use effect from React, then create a use effect hook here at the bottom of the functions. So use effect hook, and if we have two options here, two arguments or parameters, whatever. First is the data inside the function that we are going to run. Second, we have the dependency array. So if it is empty, it means it will run only one time when we load our page. But if we have something inside, let's say a state, then this use effect hook will run when that state changes. So we have to do a check here. So here let's just store our token inside a session storage. It's a good practice for authentication. So we can just say session storage dot set item. We have to use the token key and then the data. So data is called response.user dot access token, and I am using this session storage because it gets destroyed when we close this tab. So if we close the tab, we should be logged out automatically, and we can't see that page. So do it same here and here. Fine. We are now setting token inside session. So go back and log in again with Google or GitHub or your email and password, anything in these three, and it's getting. So if you open that applications tab, we should see our, you see we're seeing our, where is it? Session storage, this next auth. Okay, we are not seeing this. Wait a second, set item token. What is the problem here? What is, okay, we are seeing it. Localhost 3000 here. This one. We are seeing the token here. So we have to create a check here. First, let's get the token from the session storage when we load our application. So let token equals to, let's say, session storage. We have to get that token here. So get item, the key name, which is called token. So let's check here if token exists. So if we have a token, so if we don't have a token, it won't store it here and this will be empty. So if it is not empty, if we have a token here, we can just throw back to the home page using router.push. Fine, save it. So if we go back, so we have a token here, and if we try to go back, we should be thrown back to this home page. You see, we can't go back to register because we have token inside here. Let's do the same for the home page. So open that home page here. So open that home page and create a user effect hook, same as before. So import use effect from React and we are done. Okay, router is not defined, so let's create a auth. So instead of router, first import use router from next router, then create a const or let router equals to, let's say, use router, this import that we imported right now, then it's fine. So now here we have to do something like, if we don't have the token, we will just push us back to register page, register, save. So we can't go back, but let's try to destroy the token now. So delete it in the session application, just delete this. So if we now refresh the page, we don't have the token, so we can't go back to or go forward to the home page because it will check if we have a token or not here. So our auth is now done. Now let's move to the CRUD operations using React router, using next router and next. So sign up with Google again. So we will do that things in our home page here. So open the home page and let's start. So let's create two form fields quickly. So in the home page, we don't need that h1 or just leave it, doesn't matter. Create two inputs. So input, first this input and repeat it second time here. So this should be of, let's say, placeholder of, let's say, just name, and this one should be placeholder of let's say age. So we have two fields, name and age. Let's give them some styles. So copy the styles, copy the class name and the styles inside, and just use styles dot, what is it? This input box, and here. So just repeat this once more here. Okay, let's remove the footer because it's checking the space in our app. And we can also clear this console, close the console to have more space in our app. Let's also add a button. Make it add. So now we can add data using this button. So we can just use the class name here as well for the button that we created. So just add class name of in styles dot button here, and just break this. Fine. Save. So now we have an add button here that we can use to add data to Firebase. But before all that, we will store the data inside this Firestore database. Only way to store data here. But we also have this real time. So create database here. Okay, create database, make it test mode because we are not in production. We are just testing the functionalities. So server is done. Enable it. So meanwhile, import a function called from Firebase Firestore. So import a function which is called get Firestore. Wait a second, the import is wrong. Firebase Firestore. Fine. So import get Firestore, this function. And let's create one more export here. So export, let's create database. So we will use the get Firestore and we will just add this app inside to initialize it. We have the Firebase app, what is it? This database created here, and we can just add data here. So we can just import this, what is it, database inside homepage. So we are importing it here. So just we are importing a whole app, so also import database here. Fine. So now we have to create the instance of the database. I mean the collection. So we can just say const collection equal to, not collection. Let's say create const database ref equals to. So let's import collection here. So to create a collection, so import collection from Firebase Firestore. Then we will just create collection that takes two things. First is database, this database that we just imported, and second the collection name that we want to give the collection. So let's make it CRUD data. So we are done here. We have created database ref here, and we need one more function. So const add data. So database ref, fine, we don't need this. So let's import a few things here other than the collection, which is called add doc. So we need to use the add doc to add data, and we have different functions for all the different methods. So add doc is used for adding documents. We have read docs to read documents and other things. We will show in later parts and in the later videos. Later. So we will just use add doc, and we will just say pass this database reference here, then the email and password state, sorry, email and age state here. So we need two states. So let's create the const, let's say name, set name, use state, make it a string, empty string to initialize it. Similarly for the age, so we are storing name and age here. age. So we can just set the name and age here in the inputs. So we can just say on change, and it will take a parameter called event, and we've just stored the event dot target dot value inside this set name value, and just copy and paste it again. Make this as set age. So if we type the data here, let's say name, okay, use state is not defined, so import it here, define it, use state. Now it will work. Now we can type something here and in the age. Okay, so it's done. So in this input of age, let's make it a number input type. So just add type of number, because we can't add the alphabetical characters here. We can just only add age. Fine. So make this as input of text, because it's simple a text element here. And let's also add the value. This should be the state name, which is called name, and here they should be value should be, it should be number, sorry, not number, it should be age. Save. Now let's try. So just add the button to this function here. Sorry, add the function to the button here. I am swapping things. So on click, swapping, add data. Fine. And now we have to pass data inside this database ref. So name should be the name of state, and it should be next should be age of the state of age. So if it is successful, we will use 10 to denote that data has been sent. So we can throw an alert here. So we can say data sent. But if it fails, we can just use a catch block to throw the error. So we can just show the error. So console.log, let's console it. So console.error, we can just say error. Save, and now let's try. So what we have to do here is additional things to just set the values empty if it adds something in the Firestore. So we can set name as empty and set age as empty as well. Okay, not empty, this should be null because it's a number, and make the age as null here also. So now it's try enter my name Nishant, age 25, then just add it here. Okay, data sent, click OK, and they are being cleared, but not this email, not this age, because I don't know what's wrong with this input type of number. It's fine with text, but not number. So if we check the Firebase Firestore, we should get our data here, our name and age, and a collection ID. Sorry, not collection, document ID. So this ID is called unique. This is ID is unique. So let's add one more. Let's say Nishant 2, age 27, add, sent, okay, and it should be here. If we refresh this should be here. You see the second collection document is here with the name of Nishant 2 and age is 27. But the thing is, we are adding a number here, but we are receiving string here. So we have to convert this name into a string. Sorry, convert this number into a number, age into a number. So just wrap it in a number thing here. So now if we try again, let's add Nishant 3 or 3, age 27. Let's make it 1000. Click add, send, and here this should be the new document. And okay, you see the age is now number here, it's not string. So our add doc is done. So now let's move to read document. So for the read document, we need to input a function here as well, which is called get docs with an S, not single doc, and create a function here. So const get data and make it an arrow function. Then we have to just use this getDoc function and we have to pass this database reference, and that's all to get data. So we have to call this function first. So how to call this? We have to call this when our page loads. So in this use effect hook, just pass it here. So if we have a token, we have to get data here like this. Fine. We can also create one check. So if we have a token, only then we will call this get data function, which is always. So we are calling this function. So we have to make this function asynchronous and make this as await because we are using a promise here. So we can just say dot then to record the response we are getting. We can say response and let's console it. Console dot log response. Save. So open the console now and we are getting this data. So if we refresh it, let's me refresh. So we are getting all this data here. Where? This one. But there are a lot of data inside that we cannot read properly. So we need to get the data in this format. So this should be an array. This one should be an object, and inside objects we will have different properties of name and age. Fine. So what we can do is we have to map it to get our data. So we can just response.docs. So we have to map this docs here. It takes a parameter or it takes a value, let's say data. Fine. So to return the data and the value of inside data, which is called data. So it's peculiar. So if we now save, we are getting these three objects here in an array of objects. So we have an array, which is this array, CRUD data, and inside we have three objects, 1, 0, 1 and 2, and inside the objects we have two properties of age and name in all these three objects. So let's also add the ID here, this document ID, to differentiate between all these three. So we have to wrap it inside a curly bracket and we have to merge it with the ID, this object. So we will just say ID and we can just say data.id. Now we can see our ID as well here. You see we have this ID of HQZA whatever, the first one, and second one should be PMFZ and it's PMFZ, and third one is also here. Fine, you see here. So now we have to store this in an array. So create one array state. So const, let's say fire data, fine, good name, set fire data. So use state. So it should be an array, empty array first. Then we will have to just set it here. So just set this, close. Now let's map our this file so the data to see the data here in our UI. So this after the button we'll create a div here first. Then we have to just say fire data map to get data inside this map. So we can just say data to iterate over that, and we have to return some data here. So let's put it in a div again. Then we have to first use h1 for the name. So let's say you have to target data object dot name. Then second thing is let's add a p tag. It should be data dot age. So save, and now we can see our name and age respectively like this. So let's make it h2 because h3 it's too big. h3. Now we can see our name and the age respectively. Let's make it in a single row. So we can just use styles dot flex. Then in the home.module.css we can just add this flex, and we can just say display of flex. Also justify content justify content space evenly. Fine, but here it's not even. So just make this justify content space between. Okay, what about the third one? Why it is not getting reflected properly? So let's check the grid. So the main height is okay. Let's remove all this predefined styles here. Just leave input box and the styles following it. Okay. Let's also add. Okay. Wait. This breaking. Okay, fine. Doesn't matter. You have to just add some margin here, or just say gap to add the gap between the flex item. So gap 50 should be 10 pixels. Okay, now we have some gap here, so we don't need the justify content. Okay, fine. So we have the name and the age. Let's also use align items to align it vertically. Okay, it's fine. So we can just add the name as well here. So name text and age text. So the name is Nishant2 and age is 27, just like Firestore. So read is now done also. This read operation. Okay, what do we have imported here? That's wrong. Fine. So we're done name and age using read operation. We're getting all this data here. Now let's see how to update these fields. So to update these fields, we need a button adjacent to these fields here, to this name and age. So add a button and give it a styles of, sorry, class names of the button style that we have in home.module.css. This should be button. So we can just say styles dot button. Fine. So we don't have anything, so just say update here. Fine. Now if you click this have to send ID to the function, to a function. So create a function here first. This should be const update fields. It should take the ID parameter here. So receive it, and we will send ID from this button. So on click, we will just send the ID. So just say, what is it? Data dot ID. Now let's console it here. So console dot log ID. So open the console now. If we click the button here of update for the first field, okay, we're not getting the ID because we have to use arrow function here like this. Now it will work. So click the update of Nishant to getting the ID in this function here in the update fields, this one and this one. Now let's update the fields. So we need a function here first. So it should be doc, and we have to update the doc. So doc will tell us which field to edit in the Firestore, and this update doc will edit. So we have to add the doc first. So let's create let data or field to edit. So make this doc. So it will select a document which takes some parameters. So first is the database, second is the collection name, which is the collection name, CRUD data. So we can get it from this one, and the third thing we need is the ID. Fine. So we have the field to edit now. Which field to edit? So second thing to do is we have to just use update doc function and pass this field to edit first parameter. Second, the thing we have to import. So we import the name, edit the name I mean, and then we have to give the updated name. Then let's add the age and the updated age. Fine. So if it's successful, we can just throw a then, and we can just say console dot log. They should be, let's no, console, let's add an alert here. Alert data updated. But if it throws an error, we can just say catch error. We can add a alert here or an console log, doesn't matter. Or if it matters, if you are building an app. So we have done these things here. Now let's try to update. So if we click update here, it's updated, but we are doing something wrong. Okay, wait a second. Update fields. So we are doing this thing wrong because we have to add this function as get ID. Fine. We don't need this here. We have to make it on the add button. So this get ID, they should be here in this button of update of get ID. So if we click this, we will get our ID. Fine. So we had did something wrong here. So name is now, but we don't have any name in it. So delete this first one because it's not looking good. So if we refresh this, this will be now fine. So now we have to do is get this Nishant and A25 in this input fields. So what we can do is we can send our name and age. Okay, what should we do? Okay, we have to send the name and age as well. So just say data dot name and data dot age. Then in this function we have to receive it of get ID. So just say name is first and then we are adding age. So now let's set the name and age inside this input states. So set name should be the name. But okay, just add set name as name and set age as age. So now let's try to update, click update. So we're getting the name and age here, you see. But we have to do one more thing. So if we click update here, this add button should be changed to update. So let's do that. So create a boolean value of boolean state called is update and set is update. So use state, it should be false. Then we will set this update to true when we click the button of update here. So where is it? So on this button click, we are calling this function. So just set this to true. Now if it is true, then we will show a update button here. So where is the add button? So we can just say if it is true, we will show update button or else the add button. So add the button here in the second value, second check, and in the first just make the add to update. So let's create one more function to update the data. So this should be const update fields equal to arrow function. Then we have to add this field to edit. Let's also create one more set for the ID. So copy this and add the constant of ID here. ID and set ID. This should be null because the ID is number. So set ID should be this ID. So to set the ID, we can just set ID as ID. We are setting ID, name and age here. So in this update fields, just copy this previous function update doc and we have to add it here. Just uncomment this and it will work. So this update doc is taking fail to edit and it's updating here. So this should be capital ID for the state. So add the update field to this button of update. So now let's try. So Nishant and age 24 for the first, click update, and you see the button is now changed to update here, add button. Let's make it 26. Click update, update it, and if we check here, okay, the Nishant is the name. So you see the age is 26 now. So here also you have to add the number property before the age to convert it into number. Now if we try again, so if we make it 27, click update here, updated, and the number is now number. Sorry, age is now number. So it's working fine. So what we have to do now is just set all this data to null and empty string if we update. Fine. One more thing to do, we can't see our add button here. So to see the add button, we have to set this set is update to true when we load our application or when we click add data. Okay, not this. If we refresh, okay, it's here. So what we can do is just, okay, it's fine, leave it. So now we can update and we can set it to false when we are updated successfully. So we can just say set update to false. So let's try now. Let's update to 25 age. Click update. So update it and the button is now add. But this number is not getting removed from here because I don't know what's wrong with the email with the number input. So let's update this second value. So make the age to 27 and age, just name this Nishant. Update, updated, and it's reflecting here. You see the age 27 and name is Nishant. Now let's add the delete function. So just add a button just like this, update, to delete this. So it should be here. Fine. Just add a button of delete. Delete. Save. And it will do the same thing that the update is doing. It will just pass the ID. And we don't need the name and age. So we have to just delete using this get ID function. So we're getting ID here. And then we have to just import one more thing which is called delete doc to delete the document. So simply create a function. So const delete document. Fine. Then we have to just use this delete doc function and pass it the, okay, we have to use the, field to edit first. So create it and just pass the field to edit. We can record this data using then, and we will just throw an alert here to say data deleted. Fine. Then just catch it if it occurs any error here. So just say alert cannot delete that field. So let's try to delete the name of Nishant, then A25, click delete here. Okay, here, okay, we have to add the function in here as well in this delete button. Just wait a second. So okay, the thing is we are using get ID to delete, to update, but to delete we don't have to use get ID, we have just used get document and the pass ID here, pass ID and receive ID, and just make this as ID here. Now it will work. So refresh it again and let's check. Delete the first field of Nishant, then H25. So deleted here. You see, we don't have the field of Nishant and H25 here in the Firestore, but we can see it here. It means we have to refresh data when we click delete. So we can just call the get data function. So click it again. So now we don't see any fields here. So we have to use the get data function in the update field as well Here, just paste it after the alert in this. Where is it? In the add field as well. So if we click or if we add data, let's add data Nishant H24. Click add, sent, and it is reflecting here. Add another name, let's say Ashish, ASHISH, H25, add sent. Let's add third one, call Raju, and H27, add here. So we have 3 fields now. Let's add one more, last one. This should be Uday. Let's add 30, click add here, sent. Now we have 4 fields, and in this Firestore we have 4 fields, 4 objects with name and age properties. So now let's to try update this Raju field. So the age should be 25 here. Make 25, click update, and it now works in real time. It is getting updated properly. Let's update Ashish, make the age to be 2500. Click update. The age is now 2500 here, real time. Let's try to delete Nishant. Click delete here, and this delete button, deleted, and we don't see the name of Nishant here, and neither in Firebase. So we have now done all the 4 operations, which are called create for creating data, read for reading data, update for updating data, and delete for deleting data, which is also known as CRUD. So we have also added authentication here. So we can't go back unless we log out. So let's create one more button, last button for logout here, because why not? So we can just create a div here, div, and make it a button inside this div. So button, make this as logout, log out, save. So I have logout button here. Let's create a function here. So const log out equals to an arrow function. Then we have to just destroy the token inside session. Then we have to just navigate to our home to registered page. So we can just say, what can we say? We can say session storage dot remove item. Let's add the key name, which is called token. Then we will just return back to the home. So router dot push to the registered page. Register. Now we have to just add this logout button in the button. Logout function in this button. So on click the logout. So click logout now. We are on the registered page, and now we can't go back to the home page because we have protective routes in NextJS. NextJS. If we sign up, only then we can go to that home page. Sign up with my email account. See, we're now seeing the home page here with name of age, text of name and age and all the data here. So one more thing before going to sleep is I have to create one more page for logging in. So let's create, so let's say login or small login dot js. It's already existing in this location. Okay, we have already hit here. Login. Okay, it's fine. So let's go to login page. So we can see login text here. So we have to create the same things that we did in register. So copy all this data and paste it in login. Just change some text or title. So make it login, save. Okay, reload it. Login. Okay, login. So here we don't need the, okay, we need Google and GitHub, fine, doesn't matter. So, but here we don't have to use this create user and password, create user with email and password, because it's a login page. We have to log in here. So let me show you what I mean. So if you go back to registered page, so let's add one random email. So let's say nishant123@gmail.com. So let's say this is the email of an user. Let's add a password 123456. click sign up. So it should be here in the Firestore authentication, Firebase authentication. So we have this nishant123@gmail.com and the password. So if we try to now create the user with same email account, we can't able to create it. Let's try. It will throw an error. So nishant123@gmail.com, password, add it here. Let's open the console. Okay, let's also just catch it here. So just say catch error. We can just say console.log error.code. So open the console, click sign up. You see email and already in use because we already have the email here in this so in this authentication tab in this users. So you see we are getting this error here also. So what we have to do is we have to log in here, not registered again using same email. So we can throw an error using alert. So just say email already exists. So to log in, we have to create a login function here. Login with Google and login with. So it should be sign in with email and password. So just replace create user with email and password with this function called sign in with email and password. Now it will work. So if we refresh this, let's try again. Let's add this email. nishant123@gmail.com and the password. So make the text of sign up to log in here. So this should be sign in. Now click sign in here. Okay, we need to be on the what is doing login page. It's not login, it's register. So now add the email here, nishant123@gmail.com. The password, sign in. You can see we are now signed in here. But if we use the wrong email to sign in, that we are not registered properly, we will get an error. So we can just use the any email that we have not registered. So let's try this one, nishant1234@gmail.com. Password anything. Sign in. You see, we are getting this email called email already exists. Okay, wait. We have added the wrong message here. So it should be email does not exist. And in the register, we have to add that previous error message, already existing message. So just put in the catch block here after this then. So sign in again and you see email does not exist because we don't have the nishant1234 here. So let's create it in the sign up page. So email and the password. So we are using this nishant1234@gmail.com and the password 1 from 6. Sign up. So we are seeing all the data. Now, what if we use the wrong password? So sign in with again. So login. And if we refresh this, we should be able to see 1234 account here in authentication. See, we are getting this. So let's sign in with this email, but the password should be wrong. So let's try this 123. We'll still get this error here called email does not exist because we are not using custom error messages here. Or we can just say cannot log in. So if we get this error because we have something wrong in the email or in the password. Sign in. So we can say cannot log in because I think the password is wrong. So 123456 sign in. Now we can sign in here. So we have done all the functionalities in our app. starting from authentication to CRUD operations. So now I'm logging out and going to sleep. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this one from Web Dev Simplified. Fine, goodbye.